And we're rolling.
That's all it needs to be.
Welcome back to the C Show. Before we get started with today's very lengthy topic, we want to take a second and literally just before we recorded here on the 4th of August, we learned that Dory Funk Jr. passed away. Dory Funk, of course, the older brother of Terry Funk, the son of Dory Funk, wrestling legend, NWA, Texas wrestling legend, and appeared in ECW with Terry in 1994. While obviously not one of our generation, one of the foundational members of a class that created what we watch today.
Yeah, didn't really watch him, but heard the name enough. Obviously the Funk name as a whole is so huge, but I heard plenty about Dory Jr., the whole Funk family. So it feels like they're really a pillar to what we know as wrestling today. So, it always sucks to lose one. But again, right, there's the death when you pass and the death when people stop talking about you. That's not going to be anytime soon for Dory.
Ain't no problem for the Funks. But we're going to get started here with the C Show. Welcome back.
And I'm Jared.
Yeah, welcome back to the C Show. I'm Charlie.
I'm Connor.
No, I keep my original in. And I'm Jared.
Welcome back to Storytime. Well, I'm really proud of what we did with the Verne Gagne episode, the twin tragedies of Verne Gagne last year. There's just things that I've learned and gotten access to that expanded the story for me. Actual AWA action, cover some stories from the promotion, and the attempt to revive the promotion after the collapse of the company. Greg Gagne puts it perfectly in the Shoot interview from 2015. And again, a Shoot interview was an interview not in wrestling character. Quote, only 3 people know exactly what happened. Vince, Verne, and Greg, end quote. So while I've tried to be expansive with my research here, note that any interview will have some sort of bias. Based on that quote, understand that there's 3 versions of the story. And I've branded these: the Gagne family legend, Hogan's version, and the corporate story that WWE will sell you. In honor of Verne's 100th birthday earlier this year, February 26th, let's start there. So this first part is things we missed from Verne's background and early days. Again, from the Shoot interview by Greg in 2015, quote, it was hard to please him. Anytime, I had 3 compliments from him in my lifetime. Greg on Verne. I just want to say this out front. Verne sounded like a tough bastard. Definitely read like an asshole to some.
Oh, yeah, and it's weird because that's unfortunately so much the time of around then, right? The tough man's man, and
Grew up during the Depression.
Yeah.
Served during World War II. Now, granted, he was stateside training people, but still, like, he was training Marines to go kill people in the Pacific. So that has some impact.
Yeah.
Sounds like a hard dude. Of his era, we'll say.
Exactly what I was looking for. Of his time, for sure.
Super cool. Just not for today.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of the stuff Verne did would fly today. Bud Grant, legendary Vikings head coach, was actually at Verne's pro wrestling debut in 1949. Grant and Gagne both played together at the University of Minnesota. Verne was sent to Tulsa because he was too small for the Chicago-Minneapolis market. And again, Greg alleges that Verne was the second athlete after Babe Ruth to make $100,000 a year. At some point in the 70s, Greg also signed with the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
$100,000 a year at that time.
It's a lot. I didn't do the double check, but it's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, $100,000 now would be nice.
I would, yeah. If I was making that a year, I would do whatever weird stuff they made Verne do.
Well, speaking of what Greg and Verne did, Verne was very protective of the wrestling business. Greg wanted to go to the NFL out of college. He played at Minnesota. We'll talk about this when we get to Rick. But he played at Minnesota. He played at Wyoming for a season. And Greg wanted to go straight to the NFL. Verne had him train with Billy Robinson. Verne and Billy Robinson wrestled a lot over their careers. Billy Robinson is also like the main, I don't want to say antagonist, but like the second main character in The Wrestler, the movie that Gagne made in the 70s. Speaking of that bit of the movie, Fritz von Erich and Vince McMahon Sr. both put money into Verne's movie. Vince McMahon Sr. is also in a poolside scene where Ed Asner, they're like negotiating the Super Bowl of wrestling. And Vince McMahon is like sitting right there, Sr. too. It's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting.
I'm sure this might change if I looked into it, even remotely. But it seems like I like the father more than the son in the McMahon family.
Yeah. Vince Sr.'s much cooler. Verne had a vitamin company, Greg says. This was probably speaking from experience, because my grandparents were up to this in the 70s in Minnesota. It was most likely Amway, which is a pyramid scheme.
Still is.
Yeah. What's the lady's name? Betsy DeVos, the former Secretary of Education.
Yeah, the
Yes.
Amway Center
Yes.
was the basketball stadium for the Magic.
Greg, if you want to
Orlando
correct
Magic.
that, let me know.
Nope, that's right.
Quote, if your word and your handshake don't mean anything, you're not much of a man, end quote. He lived by that, and the business died because of it, Greg alleges. So again, like, you'll see this, you'll hear this. Verne didn't put a lot of stuff to paper. Not a lot of contracts. Lots of handshakes, lots of verbal agreements. So when Verne later gets angry about people not fulfilling their commitments, it's like, dog, you had their word. And when you look at a guy like Hulk Hogan,
That isn't going to work for me, brother.
Speaking of which, in the glory days, the 60s through the 80s, Doug Summers, quote, the AWA was the territory in the whole United States that every wrestler wanted to go to. It was the greatest territory ever. One time you could go in there and make unbelievable money. Everybody fought to go to Minneapolis, but Minneapolis was a territory of 18 guys, and everyone fought there because of the money. They got paid so well.
Man, imagine you feel like you're on top of your field. And you got to go to Minneapolis to really make it big.
Oh.
I was gonna make that joke too, but I would like to go there. It sounds nice. I like cold weather, small cities, and
St. Paul, lovely place.
those little backwards towns they got there, like Minneapolis. That's a backhanded compliment.
My mom's family is from a small town, like 2.5 hours north of the Twin Cities. Spelled N-E-W space P-R-A-G-U-E. How do you pronounce that?
Brother, you lost me like 3 letters in. Those don't go together.
P-R-A-G-U-E.
Prague?
Okay, so yeah, but like
Prague?
it's New Prague in Minnesota. I'm not kidding. My grandparents are from New Prague, Minnesota, and it's a very small insular community of Czech Americans.
All right, I had it about right.
Minnesota.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of other cuttable side quotes.
Damn it. We got a tea time.
What do you mean? This isn't anything bad. This can actually stay in. That was just an insult. Every time we talk about the Gagnes, I wonder if they're related to the blind closer for the Dodgers from the early 2000s, Eric Gagne.
There is a Greg Gagne who played for the Minnesota Twins in the 80s and 90s. He was a small part of the Twins World Series winning rosters in 87 and 91. And again,
Eric Gagne was a very good pitcher and legally blind.
hey, was he Jim Abbott, though?
No.
There we go.
Allegedly.
Doc Ellis pitched a no-hitter on LSD.
He absolutely did. Okay, let's talk about Richard Morgan Fleer.
Yes.
Okay? Ric Flair. This part, I don't know if we're going to keep this in. Rick was trafficked as an infant, okay? There was a woman in Memphis named Georgia Tann, and in the 40s and 50s, she ran a infant trafficking ring out of a hospital in Memphis. Ric Flair was one of thousands of children who was trafficked by Georgia Tann and sold to a wealthy family or a wealthy couple in Minneapolis that could not have children. And so Rick talks about his childhood, and it's like, it sounds very clear that like Rick had ADHD. He admits it, and then 2, it sounds like his mom wanted him and his dad didn't, and so his dad was just an asshole to him. And especially once Rick was like, "Oh, I want to play football. I want to be a wrestler, etc., etc." There was a whole situation there. So very rocky relationship. Ric Flair. Rick grew up in Minneapolis alongside Greg and went to the University of Minnesota alongside the Mississippi River. They both played for the Gophers. Greg played a season at Wyoming after being transferred to defensive end at Minnesota. According to Rick's autobiography, he was a member of Phi Delta Theta at Minnesota, which distracted from his football career. Greg brought Rick in. Ricky Steamboat said that it was training with Verne and Greg was the hardest thing he ever did in his life. The animation in the 30 for 30 documentary Nature Boy about Ric Flair is brutal. So the way how it sounds is they had like a 3 or 4, I think it might have been 5-story, like fire escape tower on the property where the barn was, where Verne's barn was, where they would do the training and everything, where they had the ring set up, and they would run up and down. They would do stairs. You had to run up and down the stairs. Then you had to like do wheelbarrows alternating with people.
Oh, Christ.
And then, meanwhile, Verne was doing this with you too. So this was the early 60s. Verne's in his 40s. He's running with people up on his shoulders, and then he's throwing himself on other people's shoulders as well. And like, I mean, he would like smack you if you like leaned on the wall, like running up and stuff. It sounded awful. An absolute dungeon. Stu Hart, Verne Gagne, these guys sound fucking scary. Rick quit initially. Verne follows him, slaps him outside of a bar, says, "No, you're going to do this," brings him back to the barn. When booking, Verne would be at the head of the table. Be him, Bobby Heenan, Nick Bockwinkel, who was a perennial AWA champion, Greg Gagne, and Wally Carbo, the co-owner of the Minneapolis Boxing and Wrestling Club. They would throw out ideas, and Verne had the final say. Greg put Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty together as the Midnight Rockers. Greg called the high ceiling for Shawn Michaels early, and Greg also talked glowingly about Bobby Heenan, one of the best to do it. Quote, "I got so many stories about Bobby Heenan." Bobby also fulfilled all of his commitments before moving to the WWF. So Bobby Heenan is like one of the few guys that like kind of sounds like he got off because he did everything.
Kept his word. Man of his word.
All right. We ready for this?
Dun, 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 dun.
It's more like bow, 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 bow. All right.
Connor, your turn.
Oh,
you know what? I was gonna cut you off and go next, but that was better than I expected. I like that.
I was doing Little Wing by Jimi Hendrix, which was one of Hogan's entrance themes, wasn't it?
Unimportant. I was doing a side thing.
All right. Next, we're going to talk about the one, the only, Terry Jean Bollea, Hulk Hogan. Bobby Heenan. Oh, Hogan was phenomenal. When he came into the AWA, Verne wanted him to be a heel, so he put him with a horrible human being, Johnny Valiant. This guy couldn't get over turning on a light. And I don't care how many people Hogan beat. People wanted him to be a babyface. They loved him, and that's the way it went. Greg's story. Verne would be mad when wrestlers didn't fulfill their commitments. Around 82-83, Verne wanted Andre for February, when Hulk returned from Christmas in Japan. The plan was to have Hulk and Andre be the program. Hogan went to Japan mid-December, sends a telegram from Florida that he wouldn't be coming back. Verne thought it was a joke by another wrestler, Eddie Graham. They used to joke around with each other, send each other telegrams. Come on, man, it's the 80s. Hogan didn't show on Christmas. The Gagnes asked for him to fulfill his commitment with the AWA, but Hogan said no. Quote, "We get to St. Paul Christmas night, and Hogan doesn't show up. I called him up, and I said, Hulkster, what's going on? He said, well, I'm going to New York. He said, didn't you get the telegram? And I said, Verne thought it was from Eddie Graham. You had an agreement with us until February. Blah, 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 blah. Fulfill all your commitments. Go through Christmas week, and if you want to go, then go. Hulk said, well, Vince paid me more money not to show up to the matches. That's what he said to me, so that was it.
Just what a scumbag, man.
Yeah.
Now, also, to get a telegram like that and be like, it's a joke, let's not follow up or do anything until the night of the show, is also stupid. And also, like, I think Hulk Hogan was probably already known Bastard Man at that point. He was born Bastard Man. I'm sure he was known Bastard Man. You need to follow up on that.
Yeah.
not to victim blame, but you gotta follow up on that telegram. You're not sure if it's true or not.
Greg alleges that Hogan basically wanted to be champion, wanted to have effectively the deal that he had in WCW later, where he had full complete creative control. There is no truth in Verne ransoming the Iron Sheik to break Hogan's legs.
Would have been a lot cooler if there was.
On the old Steve Austin show, Hulk Hogan talked to Steve Austin about working for Verne in the AWA. Said Minneapolis was the territory. You worked 4 days a week. You flew around on a plane. Stan Hansen said like the same thing. You worked 15, 16 days a month, and then that was it. Like you got a bunch of free time. You got a lot more flexibility than with other.
And
promotions.
I imagine not all wrestlers or organizations were flying back then. I'm sure it was a lot of Greyhounds.
I was gonna say that was gonna be my next thing. Is they
a lot of personal cars.
I was gonna say they only ran in
Minnesota, Chicago, the Dakotas, a little bit of Wisconsin.
Oh yeah, definitely far enough that a flight would be nice. Far enough a flight would be nice.
I think they also had parts of Canada, like that lower part, Winnipeg, Calgary.
Damn, 4 days a week, fly me out. I'll do that.
Well, and we talked about in the Twin Tragedies too, like they would film some dark matches, they would film some stuff live, and then again, everything would be leading up to promote their shows around the country. Verne and Greg encouraged Hulk to sell more, to go down, opposed to Vince Sr. and Jr., who wanted him to, quote, work like Andre. Hulk bought a house from Kathy Gagne in 1984. Aside from Greg, there's Kathy and it sounds like Beth. That sounds like the Gagne family. It's not like confirmed, and I didn't go too far into it. This story is kind of funny, though. Verne wanted Hulk, allegedly, to marry Kathy Gagne. So he'd marry into the family. Allegedly. But Larry Zbyszko was, quote, the first victim. Larry and Kathy have 4 kids. Tim Zbyszko is a wrestler in his own right. That makes him a 3rd generation. Good for Tim. Quote, Kathy was a beautiful girl, but looked like Greg in the face. I couldn't deal with it.
What the fuck?
I get it. Hulk planned cage matches with Verne and Nick Bockwinkel poolside before defecting back to the WWF, then used the situation to his advantage after a backstage disagreement where Bob Backlund, who there's a good one about him later, didn't think that Hulk should win the title due to his status as a non-athlete. He said he was going to walk out and go back to Minnesota. Vince Sr., all due respect, that's not the deal I made with your son. I just burnt a huge bridge in Minnesota, so I'm going to go out. I'm going to put the Sheik over tonight, but then I'm going to go right back. I'm going to go rebuild that bridge that I burned down. And then I'm out of here. And Vince Jr. goes, oh, let's talk. Vince took me into the back room and says, I'll be back in a few minutes. So I guess he went to his dad and he fixed it. Steve asks the golden question. How did Vince convince Hulk to move from the AWA? Terry alleges that he had the first guaranteed contract, a 10-year deal. Had figured out the babyface thing in Minnesota. Vince was immediately going to put the title on Hulk. Quote, had a huge blowout with Verne on merchandise. Was making shirts, brother. Hulk was making t-shirts, making money. Quote, no one else was doing it. Hulk goes to Japan to wrestle, comes back. Verne is making the same shirts and tells Hulk he won't make any money off of it. So we had a little physical encounter there, which, thank God, I came up on top during that thing with David Schultz egging it on.
Just over t-shirts, and then just fighting over it. Coming back from Japan and being like, now we're fighting over t-shirts.
These men are not the most mentally stable.
I mean, you know what? You use my image, my likeness to make a little money. Don't cut me in. Yeah, you might catch these.
Terry had a little bit of a point.
You know,
broken clocks.
That's the thing, right? You know, especially. Yeah, fuck it. I'm not gonna get on my high horse about the college athletes and blah 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 blah. I don't actually know what I was gonna say anyway.
My college athletes, my student athletes.
Jared just thought NIL stood for something else.
LANK, let a naysayer know.
Let a naysayer know.
The fall of the AWA. So next I'm gonna have just some like sort of clips from people talking, watching YouTube videos and just like piecing together things. So Larry Hennig on Verne's thriftiness. Larry the Axe, of course, was a a perennial, I'm going to use that word again, it's a good word, face in the AWA. His son, Kurt, Mr. Perfect Henning, again, was a legend in his own right, passed early, unfortunately. Curtis Axel Henning is a third-generation wrestler who is still out there today, spent some time in the WWE. But Verne forced Larry to travel from Winnipeg to Chicago for a show. Larry was already injured and stood on the apron. The show was sold out. Larry was allegedly only given an extra $50.
I did watch that interview, and I was surprised. Like, I had not realized just exactly how cheap they were known for being. And again, when he was talking about it, he fully blew out his knee.
Yeah.
Like, I believe they said they pushed surgery. He's like, no, we're going to do it now. He's like, but if you do it after we go back and you just stand there, and to get $50 extra.
$50 extra dollars for it.
Crazy for risking everything to go stand on the apron.
Larry claims that his knee never recovered. He learned to wrestle around it. After retiring from wrestling, Larry worked as a real estate agent. And Henning was also known for his completion of the 1966 and 1967 I-500 snowmobile race. This is from Wikipedia. From Winnipeg, Manitoba to St. Paul, Minnesota, he is most notably remembered from the 1966 race in which he drove through a chicken coop. However, this did not prevent him from successfully completing the 500-mile race.
Do you think he did it on purpose?
No.
Driving a snowmobile through a chicken coop? Yeah, that sounds awesome.
So, there is a legendary story in Vikings lore. Jim Klobuchar, who makes a small cameo appearance in The Wrestler, he worked for the Star Tribune for a long time. He's Amy Klobuchar's dad.
I was going to ask.
Yes.
I was like, how many Klobuchars are there?
Not many. So Jim Klobuchar and Bud Grant go on this snowmobiling trip in like Canada and nearly fucking die. And so you don't have like 40 years of like defining local journalism, and you don't have like the greatest era of Vikings history if that happens. It's completely nuts. It's completely nuts.
The butterfly effect.
Bobby Heenan.
Wow, the Vikings did so much good with that today.
Did they make a bad trade?
No, just I don't mean today literally.
Fuck the Vikings. Fuck the Vikings. Eat our shit. Eat our shit.
I just mean
I saw that Jordan Addison signed with the Ravens.
Also, fuck the Jets. Fuck the Jets. Eat my shit.
what? What did the
Super
Jets
Bowl.
do to you?
Super Bowls. Super Bowls. Super Bowls. Super Bowls. In my lifetime.
Did you see what Michael Bennett had one time called the NFL?
The No Fun League? What?
NFL. For lease.
Oh!
And I was like, damn, he kind of
Yeah, that's why I don't like the draft.
stupid brothers, but he ate with that one.
Broken clocks, man. Broken clocks.
he ate with that one.
Bobby Heenan on Verne and the collapse of the company. The AWA tried to fight a promotion they didn't know how to fight. Vince was New York mentality, showbiz. Verne was wrestling, wool trunks, grab an ankle, hold it. Vince was anything goes. You couldn't keep up with it. The world wanted to go a different direction, and Verne and other promotions couldn't keep up with it. AWA, to me, always meant Alzheimer's Wrestling Association, or all of the world's ancient. So basically, he didn't have the concept. He couldn't see into the future. He stayed. No one did except Vince. No one did. Eddie Graham, Nick Goulash, name them, Stu Hart. None of them did. They were all wrestlers. They had no idea what showbiz was.
Is Nick Goulash a shoot name or a character name?
Nick Goulash. Nick Goulash.
Where would he? Was
It's
he?
Gulas. So I may have overemphasized there.
I don't care. In my
Michael
head,
Cassidy.
my head canon is now that there was a wrestler who was just like a Eastern European, and he would goulash you.
And I just want to point this out because it's funny. You really see it in everything, right? This talk about how, McMahon was looking at entertainment, right? The entertainment part of sports entertainment, and all the other guys like, oh, they couldn't see it. Like you always hear about guys who are like, that's how we've always done it. Like it's always been this, always been that, right? And that idea of trying to stay true to like your roots and what you think the business is versus like willing to change and not die.
And I mean, if we get to it, like Wrestle Rock, like you can see that Verne is trying to do that. Like he's trying to like compromise, and he brings in little people for wrestling. He has, a big 10-woman battle royale to help like draw in more attention to female wrestling. He has like former Vikings players and like local TV celebs like come out, and it's like, it's not getting it. It's not getting it. So Vince travels to Minnesota in 1983. He asks if he can buy out Verne, and Verne said the problem is we've got partners in every city. So he's got to go around the country, go up to Canada, and see what's going on. And apparently, Verne said, you know what, I can put it together. This is the number. Vince said, okay. We drove him to the airport, and as soon as he got out and we dropped him off, he turned to us and he yelled out to us, I don't negotiate. And Verne turns to Greg and says, what did he say? And Greg goes, I think he said he doesn't negotiate. And Verne says, what does he mean by that? And Greg replies, I don't know. And we never heard from him again. That was around August, and everything hit the fan around Christmas time. That's the real story of how it went down, according to Greg.
The Greg version.
Do you think he just thought of that on the way out of the car? He's like, oh, wait, I don't negotiate.
Oh, he was definitely thinking about it the whole ride. He was so quiet the whole ride.
He was thinking about it the whole time. I think... Yeah, Vince Sr. had warned his like colleagues across the country, like, "Hey, my son is going to buy you out. I'm worried." Like, it was
what a schmuck.
It was a mess. Again, Verne had partners around the country. It was all tied up in the TV product. It included St. Louis, Chicago, Winnipeg, the Dakotas, Denver, Salt Lake City, Phoenix, Las Vegas, the San Francisco Bay Area, and TSN across Canada, especially up into the late 90s or into the early 90s. We're talking about the expansion of the ESPN deal via WGN. Vince claimed again that he didn't negotiate, and the kicker here is that Greg brought Hulk Hogan into WCW while he was working there. Stan Hansen in the AWA title. This one's Stan, the Lariat Hansen, was huge in Japan, right? Big wrestler in Japan. Not really known stateside. He cult following, but I mean, dude rocks. Just like a brawler. The Lariat from Hell, you know.
Yeah, I would say he didn't have a huge. I had not heard of him until doing the research for this.
Again,
his research, not mine. Connor just looked at me funny.
Stan was stripped of the title in 1986 as he returned to Japan from after a stint in AWA. Quote, it was a business falling out between me and Verne. Verne gave me verbal guarantee. Quote, I have nothing bad to say about him, just a difference in philosophy and promoting. Okay, here's the real story. Allegedly, Verne stiffed Stan on payments. Verne felt slighted. Again, commitments not fulfilled. Blah, 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 blah. Stan takes the AWA title, runs it over in his truck, puts the title back in a box and sends it back to Minneapolis.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, why
not? In a Gerwick.com interview, Stan recommends that you buy the book for the full story.
Bastard. He knows what he's doing.
All right, here's the real fall of the AWA. WGN, the other superstation out of Chicago that we've talked about, they were going to bring on the AWA as their WCW competitor, basically.
Okay.
Basically like, hey, this is our counter-offering to Turner. And WGN was going to provide national coverage, spend a considerable amount of time and money, according to Greg Gagne. Hogan was going to sign a contract with the AWA. They show up for a meeting on Monday morning. WGN tells them the newspapers went on strike. The newspapers made up a core of the revenue for the business in order to do other things like make television wrestling on television. WGN basically said, we can't commit to this, walked out of the deal. All of the commercial deals were like tied up and sold to ESPN. So when WGN couldn't fulfill the agreement, that's why they went to ESPN. CBS actually went to the Gagnes. They needed Hogan to complete the deal, and they weren't able to get Hogan back to the AWA. Greg confirms that the story in the documentary is pretty accurate, the spectacular legacy of the AWA. The company's end was tough on the family. Again, the 58 acres of property were eminent domain by the state, and Verne attempted to fight it out. Verne's plan was to sell off pieces of the property as a retirement income, and obviously, when that dries up, ugh. But Doug Summers has an opinion, quote, but in Verne's later years, he was Verne, right? He started stealing so much money. He was getting like 95 cents out of every dollar he was trying to keep. It was just getting so bad. We had so many fights about the money. He didn't even like me because I was outspoken. I was a locker room lawyer. The pay-per-view we did, Wrestle Rock, and then the Brawl in St. Paul, the cage match, no one got a nickel out of the pay-per-views at all. We complained. He said it would be 90 days, 120 days. I said it's been 6 months. We never got a dime, and he admitted it. He never paid anybody for the pay shows. He came straight out and kept all the money. We had Jimmy Snuka, we had the Sheik, we had Japanese wrestlers, we had Smirnoff, we had the whole talented crew. We were all getting screwed. We were all getting tired of it. He had TV on ESPN and all of that. Bottom line, Verne was stealing so much money. When you steal that much, talent putting 20,000 people in the arena every night, what Buddy, Rose, and I, what the kids were doing, we got tired of it. Greg could draw 10 grand at the casino to gamble with, but we couldn't draw 500 because they would bitch about it. Verne killed himself and he killed the AWA. When we left, Snuka left, the Sheik left, Buddy and I left, Zabisco stayed around because he was dating Kathy Gagne. They tried to bring in other young teams, but they couldn't do what Sean and Marty did with us. No one could follow what we did.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunate thing, but you got to do it. You know, that man had it coming to lose his business for treating his employee, or probably didn't even consider them employees. Let that show.
They're independent contractors.
Let that show to all entertainment venues and organizations. Let your employees identify properly as employees and give them benefits. Thank you. And profit sharing. All right, let's just tear down the economy.
Yeah, I'm just, in my uneducated mind, I don't know how it could have existed without mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah, what would have it turned into? Again, we can probably do the longest podcast ever about that.
Greg talks about it in the shoot interview that he pitched to WCW execs that they should do a brand split and that they should have the NWA as one division and then the AWA as another division. And then you have wrestlers compete. You have one show on one night and you have another show on another night on television. And then, you know, maybe you have like a draft. You have them compete against each other. You have specific titles on specific shows. He basically pitched SmackDown Raw, like the brand split that WWE later did, years before.
Not wrong, just early.
And then on top of that, Greg leaves WCW, and then they do the whole NWO thing. And he's like, that was kind of a modification of my idea of like another brand, another like group coming in and like taking over the company. In the 90s, a gentleman named Dale Gagner, who goes by the name Dale Gagner, his real name is Dale Gagner, attempted to revive the AWA despite not owning the trademarks. Greg's opinion, crook. He gets visibly angry about it, speeds up, crook, liar, cheat, phew. When asked about suing, Greg says, quote, he has no money, what are you going to get from him? So Dale Gagner and Johnny Stewart were AWA employees in different capacities. Gagner had worked in the front office. Stewart was a jobber in AWA. He had held the light heavyweight title for 2 months in 1990. According to the lawsuit, Gagner worked from 1988 to 1990 in various roles, hosted AWA events without Gagne's approval. Dale began using the name Dale Gagne, which he still uses to this day. You can check it on his LinkedIn profile, to purport legitimate connections to Verne and the AWA. So that's like 1996. A little bit of the timeline here. So 96 to 2003. They host some events, and I'm going to talk about them here in a minute here. But in 2003, the WWE purchases the AWA assets. Then 3 years later, they make the movie. That movie comes out, The Spectacular Legacy of the AWA. Then in 2007, the lawyers get involved, and they sue Gagner and Stewart. They settled the lawsuit in 2008, and it's rebranded to Wrestling Superstars Live, which it currently operates under. Stewart and a Chicago firm attempted to license American Wrestling Alliance at one point. That was shot down, obviously, because of how close it is to Wrestling Association. There was an attempt to also bring up American Wrestling Affiliates as a company as well. Remember I mentioned that Chicago was a part of the AWA territory?
I do.
1999. What is this? October 9th. AWA event in Jumpin' Joliet, Illinois. CM Punk defeats Adam Pearce. Punk would eventually feud with Colt Cabana, his longtime friend, foe, and Ricky Naga as well in various AWA events, mostly around Chicago, Indiana, etc., Michigan here, Wisconsin. Some other names that performed in this AWA, WSL sort of weird liminal space. Adam Pearce, who is one of the general managers for Raw on WWE. Doink the Clown, who's a legend in their own right. There's the Dark Side of the Ring episode about them. And Steve Corino as well. They attempted working with former NWA territories, trying to compete with the WWE's national presence and growing market share. There were even some shows in Hawaii as well, with Don Morocco, Sting, Iron Sheik, Rikishi, etc. So, not a bad time. Hey, we're gonna go to Hawaii.
Yeah, right. That's not a cheap show.
However, were you about to say something?
No, I have a completely unrelated question to pose later.
Okay. 2007. World Wrestling Entertainment Incorporated et al. V. AWA Wrestling Entertainment Inc. et al. Number. Blah, blah, blah. After the WWE purchase, Gagner pushed his luck. Quote, plaintiffs allege that Gagner has operated internet websites that infringe on the AWA marks, www.awastars.com and myspace.com, or it's myspace.awastars.com, and their extensive use of the AWA marks, unlawfully exploited and traded on the goodwill associated with the AWA, selling merchandise, yada, yada, yada. In 2008, with the settlement of the suit, Gagner gave up the AWA name and transitioned to Wrestling Superstars Live. In 2014, somebody posted their experience about working with Dale. Quote, out of options and bored to tears, I sent Dale an email explaining how his copy sucked and how I could do better. I received an extremely wordy letter, and an hour later, he was willing to give me a shot. He liked what I saw. I would become his go-to writer. Quickly fired off a piece about talking about how Rick Converse wanted nothing more to kick Dale's ass. He loved it. He even promised to pay me. I was in. While the AWA lawsuit started Dale's downfall, it wasn't the thing that brought him down. A few weeks after Vince announced the lawsuit, the Benoit tragedy happened. My online-only story about Dale blowing up Vince's limo, I did it before Wrestling Society X, by the way, was immediately scrapped. He was horrified and generally unsure about what to do next. Apparently, that uncertainty lasted a few hours because he had co-owner Johnny Stewart booked on the O'Reilly Factor the next day. It was kind of cool to say one of my bosses on TV, but to be honest, I was angry. Why aren't they hyping our events like this? We could have had more than 4 people in Kirby Mac's fan club show up. Still, it wasn't my place to complain. I just waited, hoping for something to do. Dale repeating the mistakes of Verne. But Greg also had a successful career in wrestling. Injuries complicated things. A lower disc injury in his back. MRI confirmed a herniated disc, which fucking hurts. Greg had a deal with TBS similar to top WCW talent, and Bill Watts brought him into WCW. Greg planned a year of pay-per-views, helped with long-term planning. He called Steve Austin, Booker T, Triple H, Kevin Nash the next big stars. And what did WCW do? Fired him. Eric Bischoff, who got to start working for AWA, quote, was selling ninja suits out of the trunk of his car in Minneapolis, which is hilarious. In Wrestle Rock, Greg Gagne comes to, I can't remember, no, it's Larry Zbyszko in a boxing match. His manager is just a guy in a ninja suit. So I'm like, it's gotta be one of Bischoff's.
Yeah, I like that.
One of the extras. Again, WCW was nearly close to taking out WWE, Greg alleges. He recommended the brand split, which we talked about, and buying the libraries of the AWA and NWA. TBS executives were tough and didn't like wrestling. In the early 2000s, a regional network approached the Gagnes to host a program featuring classic AWA content. This programming only beat 60 minutes in its time slot. This programming was only beat by 60 minutes in its time slot. They would take some of this content and run it as pay-per-views in the early 2000s, about 32 of them. McMahon went to DirecTV, who wouldn't negotiate a deal with him, so he went straight to the AWA to buy it. Greg's sisters didn't feel great about the sale of the AWA and all of its assets to the WWE. I think they felt they were left out of the conversation.
Yeah.
You can guess why they were left out of the conversation?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, kind of shitty by Verne and Greg.
Who would have guessed?
Who would have guessed? Doesn't happen today. It's my own personal stuff. But again, like, Greg kind of, I don't want to say, like, he intones that it was like, this was the best decision we could have made. It brought a lot of money into the family. It secured a lot of financial security. All right, we're going to do it. We're going to talk about the jet incident. I talked about this with Connor, but this is so fucking funny. So, after the sale of the AWA library and assets to the WWE, Greg gets hired by the WWE to help work on stuff. Write pay-per-views.
Interesting turn, but yeah, why not?
It's not a bad idea, honestly.
I mean, man's got to work.
So Greg is sitting behind Stephanie and Triple H, and across the aisle is Vince McMahon. Sitting next to Greg is Kevin Dunn, who is a backstage person, WWE longtime person.
Long-time person, first-time caller.
Kevin Dunn leans over to Greg and tries explaining, Vince wasn't trying to take over anybody's company. Greg responded with similar energy. Stephanie turns around and goes, my dad made Hulk Hogan. Greg replies to Stephanie, quote, you weren't even around to know what was going on. She was born in 1976. She would have been around 6 to 8 when the whole Hulk thing went down. Greg was sitting in the AWA offices and working with Terry.
I feel like normally years are, you get a 1 year. Did you go 6 to 8 just to avoid saying 6, 7?
No, because
Subconsciously?
I was looking at it and I was like, okay, kind of the whole Hogan shenanigans starts in like 81.
It was a conscious decision.
Yeah,
We know this. We know this.
To avoid saying it was 6, 7 years.
So go back and listen to, if you haven't already, go back and listen to the Twin Tragedies of Verne Gagne.
And if you have, also go back and listen to it again. You probably missed something.
Yeah, exactly. Verne's funeral. Funerals are solemn affairs, usually, especially in the Midwest. But did Bob Backlund cut a promo at Verne's funeral?
Hell yeah.
Many wrestling stars attended the funeral for WWE Hall of Famer Verne Gagne in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Names that attended or either the visitation or the funeral were Larry Hennig, Jim Brunzell, John Nord, Kenny J, Gene Okerlund, Precious Paul Ellering, Steve Olonsonsky, Baron von Raschke, Eddie Sharkey, and Bob Backlund. Okerlund and Greg Gagne delivered eulogies for Gagne. Okerlund finished his by doing an introduction for the heavyweight champion of the world, Verne Gagne, and it received a standing ovation. As Greg was giving the eulogy for his father, Backlund reportedly started cutting a heel promo at Greg. This was described as, quote, ridiculously out of place.
It wouldn't surprise me if they were all in on it. It's the Montreal Screwjob all over again. That sounds like something he would love. It's like, yeah, cut a promo at my
funeral.
At my funerals. People don't think about them being sad. They think about all this crazy heat this guy's getting.
All right, if you could pick one current wrestler to cut a promo at an upcoming an upcoming funeral, Mitch McConnell, we'll just say. I think his is scheduled for 2 weeks or so. Which professional wrestler would you want to cut a promo at Mitch McConnell's funeral?
Samoa Joe. Go look up some of his stuff. It is, wow. It is unfathomable.
I've seen the one interview with
Renee
Young at the time, Renee Paquette, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, Dean Ambrose and his dumb wife or something," and it's like you are talking to his dumb wife.
That's amazing. Hopefully, there's another WWE Hall of Fame member who may or may not have some political inclinations, whose funeral we'll all be able to go to soon.
There's no way in hell that they're letting him, like, they're putting the coffin up in the Capitol Rotunda or whatever. No way.
For that one, I wouldn't just cut a promo. I would do a body slam.
Former AWA announcer Mick Karch wrote the following on Facebook in response to claims that the original story was made up. Quote, "If you weren't there, it is pretty absurd to say it didn't go down as reported, even if you're a fan of Backlund, and there is nothing wrong with that. I will say one more time, Greg Gagne was wrapping up his eulogy for Verne when Backlund stood up and made some shouting references to representing WWE, and then told Greg, 'Don't talk back to me.' He smiled and sat back down. Greg's response was, 'Who was that?' Someone said, 'Bob Backlund,' and Greg responded, 'Who let him in here?' Backlund hadn't just spoken the words. He was shouting as if he was cutting a promo from his Mr. Backlund days." And according to Robert Miller, Bob Backlund's autobiography co-author, this is via the Kayfabe Memories message board hosted on infinitecore.ca, Bob and everyone else in attendance sat quietly through the solemn ceremonial part of the service. When that was over, the ministers announced that the church service was over, but that Gene Okerlund and Greg Gagne were going to speak, and that others might speak also. Mean Gene went first and apparently gave some pretty awesome remarks that had people in the crowd laughing and cheering. Apparently, it ended with Gene making a ring announcement and the people rising in a standing ovation. So this was not the ordinary somber church experience that you and I know. Anyway, then Greg got up and gave a eulogy that was more of the same. At one point, Greg was talking about the WWFE and his father's experiences with Vince Sr. and Jr., and some of the stuff that he had read up about on that on the internet. At that point, Bob stood up and said, "Hey, Greg, I just wanted you to know that I'm here representing Vince McMahon and the WWE, and we just wanted to pay our respects and express our condolences to you and your family from everyone in the WWE." That was it. Greg thanked Bob, Bob sat down, and then Greg continued. According to Bob, the whole thing lasted about 15 seconds and was done because Greg's remarks opened the door. Bob wanted everyone in the building to understand that WWE was paying its respect to Verne and the Gagne family. Verne and Bob shared a moment. So anyway, it seems that someone has run a little fast and loose with things without understanding the full story.
Could you imagine emotionally preparing yourself to give a little eulogy at a solemn funeral, and you have to go after Mean Gene just bringing the house down, just crushing?
Like, right, you have this little bit planned. You're like, oh, it's gonna be cool. Like, we'll do it.
Yeah.
It'll be cool. Like, people will remember it. And Mean Gene just, like you said, tears the place down. And then it's like, we're here and we respect him. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You see the whole flow from bringing the house down to bombing. I saw an open mic the other last week, and one guy just killed, crushed. And then the next guy who goes up was like, "You're not supposed to do that well at these. It's not like, what am I supposed to do?" That's how I imagine the other person was feeling.
The last thing I want to say here before we move over to talking about matches is, quote, "We learn to be yourself because everybody has something inside who they want to be or how they want to project themselves. And until you let that come out, you're never successful." Greg Gagne, 2015.
That's a hell of a story, I'll tell you what. That's certainly a lot top to bottom.
Yeah.
And
there's still way more out there.
And like of how mixed in it is to, again, what wrestling is now with, like, again, what I feel like is not really talked about.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll be right back. We're going to talk about some AWA content, and then we've also got to talk about our trip to TNA at the Leo Core Center. Stick with us. We'll be right back. It's the C Show. Welcome back to the C Show. We're going to talk about some Verne Gagne and some AWA matches. Connor, take it away.
So the first one I watched was, and I'm sure you'll know the pronunciation much better than me, Edouard. I
Edouard Carpentier.
Yeah, that's why I figured it would be something dumb
that
like
was
that.
A killer match. I watched that one too.
That was versus Verne. and it was 2 out of 3 falls, which just seems like something they kind of did a lot, but probably just because they're like, we need to take up 45 minutes right now, so we're just gonna have our 2 best guys go at it. So different, so technical. They all, like, everything, like they said, like your quote in there of grab a leg, hold it. It's like literally like they were just rolling through. It made me think about how the ref was always looking to see, like, oh, are their shoulders down? Like in any roll, any position, and so many just like 1 counts, guy rolls a little bit, right? Like so much slower than you see today, but it was really good.
My favorite part of the match is the commentary. What are we doing here? Playing some slap happy? Pardon me, I was lighting a cigarette. I must say, that is the most doggone bandage I've seen on a man's arm. This is an Academy Award-winning wrist lock or arm lock. You can figure that out.
For me, it was how for the second fall, the first one that Verne won, he choked him out, and there's literally like 7 minutes of them waiting for him to come back to and be like, all right, let's do it. Come on. They're like shaking him out, and they're
I
like,
never
all
thought
right.
about
And they
how
literally
that
had to
would work on a...
No, like me neither. Like I've always seen 2 out of 3 falls matches. It's like, okay, a pin, you give them a minute. They like to be fully choked down, be like, all right, hey, you got one more, champ. It's still up to you. And then the last fall to be like did he beat the count back in? Like all the matches just had some level of carny to it that's like, I guess just what you had to do then. Guys weren't allowed just to lose, I guess.
Yeah.
Like almost every single one had some weirdness to the end of it.
I also watched Verne Gagne versus Billy Robinson in IWE action in Japan. This is a best 2 out of 3 falls for the AWA heavyweight title match. 1974, Verne is 52. And of course, having been bald since his 20s, it was hard to tell. This, again, super technical. Robinson is catch as can, English-style wrestling. Robinson with the neck breaker gets a 2 count. Verne's scissor lock. Billy responds with attacking Verne's knee and hips. Ref calls the first a fall for Verne. He gets the sleeper hold, and then Robinson turns around, gets the backbreaker to tie it up. Verne calling for the ref out of the bear hug. Verne hits Robinson with the elbow. Verne suplex. Billy covers. 2 count. Ref calls it. Rings the bell. This was fantastic. Japanese wrestling is, I mean, they're doing the same thing they would do here in the States, but like the crowd reaction is so different. They're not cheering. They're not chanting. They'll clap after a big sequence. They'll cheer after a big sequence. But then, after the bell rings, it's all mayhem. Billy Robinson is awesome. He also features, again, as I mentioned earlier, he's sort of the second character in the 74 movie The Wrestler. I just want to mention this. It's really funny how Ed Asner's character and Gagne are basically, it's like they split up Gagne's personality to be like, okay, the Booker versus the Wrestler. The lore drops, they talk about, Ed Asner's character, secretary, mentions a call from Jim Barnett in Australia. Mike Bullard, who's played by Verne Gagne, his wife is worried about what happened after Ray Gunkel's death. She's like, I don't want you to be like Ray Gunkel. There's like a lot of like high like wrestling lore in here where it feels like the movie does feel like it's a product of like it's trying to legitimize the AWA as a sporting league. At the same time, it's like also trying to present it as like, hey, we're being pressured by like the mob and the media and all of these different areas. Very interesting. Also, the guy who plays Oddjob is in a scene with Dick Murdoch or with Dusty Rhodes, and I believe it is Dick Murdoch. Hilarious. The Wrestler also has a Rocky-esque ending 2 years before Rocky does. So the ending is like Billy Robinson is saying, "Oh, nobody's ever hit me with a drop kick," and then the ending is a freeze frame of Gagne's character hitting him with a drop kick. So it's like, oh, does Robinson get covered there?
I watched Verne's retirement match.
Ooh, really?
Versus Bockwinkel?
Yeah.
And it's so fun because I don't know. I probably should have looked. I don't know how old he was. He looked about 45, 46.
he was probably closer to 60.
Oh my God,
Because I think it was 81 or 84.
that is unbelievable. Because that man was hitting like back to back, maybe to back drop kicks. And he was hitting them well. And apparently, as we saw at TNA, that doesn't always work out as such. I mean, there was a lot of cool roll-ups. When Verne Gagne, like, power whips him, like, Ben, does the arm twist and corner-to-corner whip. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen one that smooth. So that man was really doing it. He took the loss on his way out. He got retired properly. He looked great doing it. And I enjoyed Nick Bockwinkel, too, and not just because his name is goofy.
Bockwinkel's incredible on the mic, too. I highly recommend checking out some Bockwinkel promos from the 80s.
No, so, I mean...
Him and Bobby Heenan were on
Verne looked ancient, but you know what? I think he was probably timeless. That was really impressive.
He is in 86. He's 60, right? And that's at Wrestle Rock, and he's wrestling the Sheik in a steel cage. And you're like, again, like it's like, dude, you've been bald since you were 20, so. You can't
they
really
just
tell.
Don't make little bald mighty men anymore.
They don't make them like that anymore.
Just like dudes that you look at when they're 24 and they look 52, but they're just shredded, just like athletic marvels. That man definitely at 60 is more athletic than I've ever been in my life.
For sure.
Except when I was 4, I was crazy good.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
The Andre promos were absolutely fantastic.
This is and I'll link it in the source notes. I try to make sure to include all of the sources that we pull from here. But it is the legendary promo where Andre puts his hand over Mean Gene's face. Holy cow. It's just so good.
Well, for me, it's the last one when you realize Mean Gene is a coward.
Yes.
Because Mean Gene asked Andre, can I put on your coat? Andre's giant sports coat. And Andre immediately goes, if I can put on yours.
Yeah.
We could have had Fat Guy in a little coat, him destroying Mean Gene's coat that would have been famous forever. But Gene was a coward and only put his on. Gene could have changed the wrestling world with a simple yes and buy a new suit jacket.
Yes and, everyone. Yes and.
Wrestle Rock 86. 3.5 hour show. Highly recommend it. It's really funny. You got little people wrestling. You got Verne attempting WrestleMania. Brad Rangans? Yeah, Brad Rangans was like this Olympic wrestler who was supposed to go to the 80 Olympics in Moscow. And then Jimmy Carter was like, we're not going to the Olympics. And so I think he was like, I have to like support the Minnesotans. Like I have to make sure like these guys get shine.
Jimmy Carter, great baby face.
Jimmy Carter's an incredible baby face. And again, Verne defeating the Sheik Adnan Al-Kaisi after Greg and Jimmy Snuka defeat King Kong Brody the Bruiser, and Nord the Barbarian. The main event, again, why you should go check this out. It's the Road Warriors, Hannibal and Hawk with Paul Ellering fighting the fabulous Freebirds, Jimmy Garvin and Michael Hayes. Oh, so good. But you know what else is good? We got to go to TNA last week,
The
guys.
C show. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
But we're going to talk about that next
and it's over. Once somebody hits it, the C show.
Thank you.
TNA was cool, man.
Yeah, I want to shout out our friend Antonio for hooking us up with the media and communications team at TNA. Shout out our friend of the show, Ross Foreman at TNA, for hooking us up with the comp tickets at the Lea Chorus Center last Thursday and Friday.
Awesome seats.
Awesome. Great seats.
Yeah, like first level right opposite hard cam.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best seats I've had, especially at a, quote unquote larger scale wrestling, right? And a arena wrestling event.
Well, yeah, we've gotten moved ringside at BCW previously.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah, that's
awesome.
right.
No, you're right.
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
sick.
yeah, that was pretty cool. But again, like those
2300 arena.
the 2300 arena versus the Liacouras Center, you know. One interesting thing is that the show on Thursday started at 7 p.m., so they started wrestling at 7 p.m., but TNA doesn't go live on AMC until 9. So my theory is that they were filming on Thursday and Friday to prepare for the next few weeks so that everybody can get a few weeks off.
Yeah, I
Book some
assume
indie shows.
I assume they did the next month. When I jumped in my time machine and kind of looked at how it all played out, it seems like it might have gone like Star Wars adjacent,
Yeah.
where in the end everyone's going to argue about what the correct order to watch it is, but it's just however you feel.
Because we were watching a match, and then an hour later they were like, we're going to have that match next week.
Cutting a promo. I swear at one point they said we'll see a contract signing for a match that we saw the match, but we did not see the contract signing.
Yeah, they must be doing it later. Or they must be doing
They
it
filmed it in
backstage.
the back, yeah.
Yeah. But TNA puts on a pretty phenomenal show. I want to shout out the International Championship match, Mustafa Ali versus Jason Hotch. Some are already calling it TNA's best match of the year. I mean, apparently this was also the end of Order 4, the group that Hotch and Ali were both a part of, Ali being the leader of that group. This championship win by Hotch being the beginning of the end for Order 4 here. Killer match. Apparently Ali set this all up. He booked this, like the title change for Hotch. He's also been going around and scouting indie talent for TNA.
Oh hell yeah!
We saw Cheeseburger, a noted independent talent on Friday. Cheeseburger. Oh my gosh. If you want to see if you want to see like 4,000 people pop, no, not 4,000. 4,000 people, yeah. 4,000 people pop for a wrestler, name them, just go by Cheeseburger. Like, I don't even remember the moveset. I just remember dude looked like he was having fun. Like, that's all that really matters.
And they teamed him up with Hometown Man, who also,
He's a
by the way,
Hometown Man.
just rocking the Bruce Springsteen adjacent for legal purposes. And he did a whole like intro customized to the city.
So he does that in every town.
I would assume so.
He does that in every
That's
Yeah, he's the
awesome.
hometown man.
He's a hometown man. His whole shtick is I am from your area.
Yeah.
And you should love me, and you do.
Which who else did that in WWE? Who kind of, whatever.
All right, great. Good pull. Good shout.
Good shout. We also saw the semifinals, or the quarterfinals and the semifinals of the TNA Knockouts TV Championship Tournament. I love some tournament-style wrestling.
And just shout out Indy Hartwell. Absolutely,
Indy Hartwell rules.
absolutely love Indy, and especially that she got to beat one of
Elegance.
who Nick decided he
All right,
liked.
we
Nick
did
decided he liked, and it made me hate them more. I also need to find out where in the timeline that guy goes blind, because I'm so confused.
Yeah. So, shout out to Nick for coming along with us on Friday. Try to let people know about getting tickets. If we do get tickets like that, they came up like a few days before the show because I was like, I'll try, and guess what, it worked. I was like, okay, cool. We also saw the Hardys, both Matt and Jeff. The Hardys, both Matt and Jeff.
That was cool. I don't think I had seen them wrestle live. I meant to go back and look, because I cannot remember what pay-per-view I went to in Philadelphia growing up. I need to look at and see, because I may have seen Jeff. This is definitely the first time I saw Matt Hardy wrestle live.
So Connor and I both saw Matt and Jeff individually wrestle on Thursday, and then all three of us saw them on Friday, tag team against the Nemeths, Nick and Ryan Nemeth. Nick Nemeth, formerly Dolph Ziggler in the WWE as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's just a good time. I was looking at tickets, and TNA tickets, wonderfully priced. You could get on the floor at TNA for $100. So, if that's something that's in your budget and sounds like a good time, highly recommend doing it.
Yeah, you should. It was a great show. Lots of people we've seen before and are known, to be great wrestlers. They put on a really nice
Frankie
show,
Kazarian.
a nice presentation. I don't know if we're going to talk about the picture and the ringside.
The gentleman.
Yes.
Amazing. You know what? Maybe you can find that on some social media, one way or the other.
I did post it on our Blue Sky channel. Please follow us on Blue Sky.
There you go.
Please follow us on Blue Sky, because the owners of Blue Sky say they want to have more live sports on there. So come on, Blue Sky. Let's talk about wrestling. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
My other two favorite wrestlers of the night had to be Moose. Moose. His intro, awesome.
Moose.
And
Moose.
the wonderful Sade, who I would love to see more of.
Per Fightful Select, I got an email about this today. Mara Sade was actually working off a contract on Friday with TNA. Her contract had expired.
Ooh.
There are rumors that she might sign with AEW. No, those are rumors.
Ooh, please let it be true.
Mm.
Oh, her.
So then you can just hear us talk about her
Yeah.
every week that you don't watch?
What do you mean? If you put her and Mercedes Moné on a tag team, I would watch every one of their matches on YouTube the next day.
Bonk.
I said you, too.
At least emphasize the right word in the joke.
Well, we're going to be talking about upcoming AEW action, including the AEW Continental Cup with Rebel Heart Dynamite and upcoming C-Show action. Stay tuned with us. It's the C-Show. Welcome back to the C-Show. We've got some upcoming topics here on the calendar. We're talking wrestling, weddings, and Grand Slam Mexico next week. And then we're also going to be talking to Brian Murphy and El Terrifico from AXW in the next few weeks as we get prepared for another AXW show at an undisclosed date near the end of September. Near the very end of September on a Saturday.
I will be doing the wrestling wedding show. I'm excited. I've been trying to think of a couple different ways to cut it because there's so much that goes into a wrestling wedding, and none of it is a happy ceremony and a happy bride and groom. So I'm gonna have to cut it down, find a couple for you guys to watch. But
are we gonna talk about Vince beating the shit out of Stephanie in the street fight a week before her actual wedding?
Nope, that is not a wrestling wedding episode. So
Wait,
I don't
he
think
beat
you
his
understand the
daughter?
topic. They had a pay-per-view match in a street fight.
Like,
That's whack. I love that.
Linda was like, I will divorce you if she has a black eye at her wedding. Like, yeah, it could have gone really bad for Vince.
Oh, you know
somehow.
who's a bad person? Also Linda McMahon. Both of them bad people.
Good shout.
You want to talk about a good person though?
Yeah.
Rebel. Rebel has been in the media a lot. We're trying to bring back the Ice Bucket Challenge at some point to honor her battle with ALS. AEW will be hosting the Rebel Heart Dynamite on September 9th, so stay tuned for that. We'll be talking about it, of course. And finally, last but not least, the AEW Continental Cup. We've got first round action here. The Continental Cup is modeled after the Football Association Cup, the FA Cup in England. So the idea is we're going to have tournament mid-season, and the winner will... Here's the thing. Moxley is thrown into the pool. You're not going to, it's not a tournament to see who will face Moxley. Moxley will retain his title up until the title match. If he wins, if he gets there. So we got some really fantastic matchups coming. AEW did a stream, Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone. Of course, the two Tonys. But our first round action includes Orange Cassidy versus Matt Sydal, formerly known as Evan Bourne.
This could actually get really good. Evan Bourne can go. Orange can get weird with it. I think it's gonna be a very great watch.
We have spent we've spent a little bit too much time maybe riffing on Evan Bourne as a guy, I only know of Evan Bourne as somebody we kind of make jokes about, oh, that's a wrestler you kind of don't know about because you weren't paying attention. Okay, never mind.
Seems very rude of you to talk about someone who's
It
very
is-
storied in that way.
It is rude
That's
of me.
wild.
It
Well,
is rude of me.
It's true. I don't know him, and I wasn't paying attention.
Next up, Claudio Castagnoli versus Ace Austin. I think this is going to be a real challenge for Ace Austin. Will he survive it?
Something is gonna have to happen here if he's gonna win. I'm just being honest. I don't think they're gearing up for an Ace Austin push.
Nope.
I would push Claudio every day forever.
You know who is going to be getting a push? One Eddie Kingston in a match against Jake Doyle.
You don't think Doyle's gonna?
I
Look,
want-
I love Jake Doyle. I want him. I was mad when he tore his bicep.
I just want Eddie Kingston to just win by flailing.
I want Eddie Kingston to be tough as hell, and Jake just keeps burying him, and Eddie's super tough. We get to go, damn, Eddie's still a maniac. That's all I need.
You don't want to hear my thoughts on Eddie Kingston.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. But you know what you're not going to forget about? You're not going to forget about following the C Show on social media. You're not going to forget about rating and reviewing the podcast on your podcast app. As Bomani Jones puts it, give us 5 stars. If you give us 4 stars, I'm inclined to believe that you are a hater. And make sure to share this episode with somebody who is from the Midwest. Okay, cool. Thanks.
And don't forget to tip your waiters.
Yeah, tip your servers. We'll be back next week. This is The C Show.
Oh, yeah. Is that what we are?
Of course you like The C Show. Make sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share it with your friends. Support the show directly at ko-fi.com/cshowpod. $5 a month gets you access to the Discord and the C Show archive, plus priority for topic research. Thanks to supporter Stu for being our first member. Follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube at C Show Pod. Have a question for the boys? Send an email, cshowpod@gmail.com. Thanks to our friends Amir, Patrick, and Justin for their assistance. The C Show is a production of 832 Media. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll be back next week.
Cat.
111.55.